Today we're going to be talking about male gold diggers, men who scam women, how they do it, who they target, and what are their tactics basically. For the women who don't know who the guy is displayed in this video right now, he's known as Simon Lviv. To everyone, his real name is Shimon Hayut, so we're going to be calling him Shimon in this video. This guy scammed women out of like $10 million. I'm sure it's been way more than that. Like, I think 10 million is literally the only number they know, but I'm sure that he probably has way more than that. And basically, what he would do is, he's originally from Israel. He would travel to different countries, like England, for example. He would download Tinder, and he would just find women to scam. He would take them to expensive places, like expensive restaurants, private jet, hotels, all that stuff. And then afterwards, like I think once he gets comfortable, once he really gets to know the victim, he would basically ask them for money, and it worked. So this guy scammed women out of their money, and he called himself Simon Lviv. He pretended to be the son of Lev Lviv. Lev Lviv is a Israeli Russian Jew who is known as like the king of diamonds. He's worth like $1 billion, so that's what he would tell other women, is that he's worth $1 billion. And I feel like that's all you really need to know so that I can kind of get into the details of Shimon and how he did what he did. It's important for me to add that I did not watch the documentary. Most of the information I'm sharing is literally because I know him personally. I know him from friends of friends, and also because of my job I have a lot of information on him. So really that's the most information I'm going to be giving out today. I did go through YouTube a little bit and some articles to kind of understand what he did to those women and how he did it, so that's like as much as I know. I don't plan on watching the documentary simply because I don't have the time for it, but he did message me. Shimon did message me. He did try to contact me, and he had no clue that I even knew about these scams, and that was like years ago. And he was bragging about this Netflix series. Like, he knew that those girls were gonna be on Netflix. Like, this is not a surprise to him. He knew about this before. He was bragging about it. And he also claimed that he never did it, and that his side of the story is also going to come out. So if both sides, like if his side also comes out, then maybe I'll watch it and make a new video on that. But until then, it just doesn't make sense for me to just watch the video. It's going to be like only one-sided. But yeah, he was always aware of this. He knew about it before. He actually bragged about it to a lot of people. So I don't know why he's all of a sudden pretending to be upset about it or mad about it. So the first smart thing that he did is that Shimon made an Instagram and he changed his name to Simon Lviv, pretending to be the son of Lev Lviv. Now, if you search him up, like if you search up Lev Lviv and look at what he looks like, then you put Shimon right beside him, you'll notice that they do kind of look similar. If I did not know, first off, if I did not know who Lev Lviv is, maybe I would have fallen for it. I'm not sure, because Lev Lviv is not like some ginger who has blue eyes and freckles and looks like the complete opposite of Shimon. They do have some similarities, so I can a little bit understand why the girls kind of fell for it. And this is something that I taught a lot of you to do in my previous videos. To never use your first name and your last name in your actual accounts. If you're online dating, you don't want to redirect the guy to Facebook or Instagram and your real first name and last name is on there. At least that's my opinion, because then he can search you up, find out where you live, where you work, what your phone number is. Why do you want to do that? He's going to find out who your family members are, who's your sister, who's your mother. Do you want that? You don't know who's out there. You don't know who's going to find you online. It's extremely smart, in my opinion. If your name is like Sveta, change your name to Svetlana. Or give yourself a brand new name. I could care less. Use your middle name. Your last name can change. You can change it to your mom's last name. Or change it to something that's similar to your last name, in case people start asking you why'd you completely change your name. You just be like, I just like this one, it sounds better. Who cares? But it's much better than him being able to creep on you and find out more information about you. From what I remember, Shimon is originally from a city called Bnei Barak. It's a very religious area. It's where like those super Jewish people live, okay? Like by super Jewish, I mean like the ones with the curls on the sides and everything. His father is very religious, so I believe his mother is too. I don't know too much information about his mother. I know more about him and his father, which I'll get into that soon. But yeah, Shimon was religious. He slowly started getting rid of his kippah and his traditions, and then eventually, from there he went on downloading Tinder and scamming women. Currently, right now, he's living next to Ben Yehuda. He has a very gorgeous apartment, but seriously, like I'm telling you, I think he does not love his mom or something, because his mom is living in like a disgusting apartment that's very grimy. She's not in good health. And it's just surprising to me that he's blowing up his money everywhere, showing off his wealth, but yet wouldn't even take care of his mom or help his mom out. Like that to me is just strange. But again, I've taught you guys this as well. Like, look at how he treats his mother. If he doesn't respect his mother, if he's not even willing to help his mother out, what kind of a guy is he going to be? This guy is very short as well. He's, from what I remember, he was like 5'1", 5'2" maybe. And him and his friends are still running scams, okay? They're running scam web for NFTs, stock market courses, and they're still getting money out of people. Like, it's impressive, I'm telling you. They're flexing their rented cars, showing off their fake wealth. And the crazy thing is that I knew about his scams years ago. Scamming literally runs in their family. So, like, the fact that he got this far was very impressive because I did not think he would go this far. Especially not with his grade 2 level, English. Like, it was just insane when I started reading the articles and watching the YouTube videos of what he did to those women. Like, it's as sad as it is, it's actually very impressive. Now, the reason why I say that fraud runs in their family is because his father committed fraud. So, Shimon's father is the rabbi of an Israeli flight airline. His father was also caught in fraud. It runs in their family. You guys can do the research on what he did or how he did it. Basically, his dad's job, like, I don't know exactly what an airline really needs a rabbi for, aside from making sure that the food is kosher. But yeah, that's kind of how it is. He has connections to flights and all that stuff because of his father. And Shimon also committed a lot of frauds, like, in the past too. Like, such as, like, stealing checks and getting luxury cars when he wasn't supposed to. Like, he did so many frauds. Like, he's quite well known, and he's not even just well known in the Middle East. He's known in, like, other countries too. Like, because I don't, my job, it doesn't, like, I don't work in the Middle East. So he was quite known. Like, it's quite impressive that people knew about him and he was still able to kind of get around. That's why it's so impressive, because he's not known for his frauds just in Israel. He's known in a lot of places. And this is exactly why it's very important to do a background check. Trust me, it's much better to just pay the money and find out if he has any criminal records than to, move in or get married to a guy that you have no idea if he did anything in the past. Because something very similar happened to a woman that I know, where she got married to a guy who used to work in a bank but was actually stealing money from the bank. And he has all these, like, criminal records now, and he was sitting in jail. She had no clue. She only found out after she married him. And the same thing happened to her. People don't do things just once. He ended up stealing money from her. He ended up, even, like, signing his name to her, like, house or whatever because they were married. Meanwhile, he, like, didn't sign her name on his apartment and gave it out to his daughter. Like, it was such a mess. If people have criminal records, doesn't matter what it is, and especially if it's fraud, trust me, you're not special. That person will F you over. I should probably also add, before I move on to the next topic, that aside from the money that women gave Shimon that helped him out with his flights, the fact that his father was the rabbi of an airline, this really helped Shimon with his flights, with his first class, as well as helping him out with escaping countries that have charges against him. Shimon and his father are extremely smart people, because they actually understood that image is everything. Shimon's father is a rabbi. For people who don't know what a rabbi is, it's basically like being a priest. People can easily be fooled when they see someone is religious. It's a great manipulation to convince others that you come with good intentions. For example, when we look at teachers, like, we think that they're innocent, that all they do is go home, come back to work, Like, we don't think that they're out there doing some crazy stuff. So if you were to find out that your teacher was out partying and then there's pictures of them, half naked, puking by the toilet, it's not going to look good. Teachers have this high standard of presenting themselves as angels, so same thing with, rabbis and priests. Like, priests are supposed to be good people, but some of them do some disgusting things. Like, not all of them are good people, and some people use religion as a way to manipulate others. So Shimon played the same role his father did, but instead he created this image that he lives a luxury lifestyle all over his social media and his pictures. And I've taught you ladies in my previous videos so many times that your image is everything. Though people always say, don't judge a book by its cover, people judge you based on your cover. Whatever they see on the outside, your image, that's what they label you as. That's what you're worth. That's who you are. Nobody cares right now about your personality. What they see on the outside, that's who they start, labeling you as. That's just how it is. And if you follow my advice, my previous videos, you would have never fallen for this trick. I always tell women be very careful of men who post pictures of their fancy sports cars or their luxury life pictures. I'm not aware of any woman that hasn't been effed over by men who post pictures like this. And it's very, like, you should question, why would a man want to show his wealth to the public? I've never in my life met a healthy man that has money and wants to be used for his money. Because obviously if you're putting this kind of pictures on display, that's what you're going to attract, a bunch of gold diggers. 95% of men that post these pictures that I know of, they're poor, they're on huge debt, they borrow loans, and they use fancy cars and homes that other people own. You should never trust a guy who posts these kind of pictures. If you ever see a guy with sports cars, luxury lifestyle pictures, all that stuff, trust me, most, like 95% chance you're going to get effed over. So how he further got these women convinced that he was successful is by having videos of sports cars and bodyguards for women who know nothing about Israel. If you've never been to Israel, you know nothing about Israel. I don't care what the media told you about the wars and stuff, you know nothing. If you don't live in the Middle East, you know nothing. And you are the perfect target for Shimon. One thing I want you to understand is that gaining access to a sports car in Israel isn't all that hard. Like America, first off, you can rent. Second, there's this trick that a lot of broke Israeli men use, and they will rent a cheap car. But usually that cheap car they rented, they don't receive it by the time that they're supposed to receive it. So what the company will do in order to make up for that, they will provide them a sports car that's worth 10 times more than what they've paid. And yeah, this really does work. Second, getting a bodyguard in your pictures or in your videos in Israel isn't hard at all. There's literally bodyguards everywhere. There's guards all over schools, malls, clubs, hospitals, they're everywhere. Because this country, first off, yeah, there's terrorists and everything, so that's why they have bodyguards everywhere. It's really not that hard, and I'm gonna give you guys an example, especially like how you can get one in your videos. So an example would be like, first off, like I mentioned, bodyguards are everywhere. Becoming friends with them is not hard. Some of them, you can even like just be friends with them and fake that they're your bodyguard, and they'll play along. Like, I even have a friend of mine who has a YouTube channel, and one of his favorite bodyguards ended up, getting hit by like a group of people because he refused to let one guy in. And this friend of mine like took a video of it and put it on YouTube and saying, oh, my favorite bodyguard got attacked and everything, like years ago. And that's just me trying to tell you how easy it is to have a video like that on there. You can easily pay someone to even pretend to be your bodyguard. It's not hard to get into an ambulance and fake a scenario. Really, like, those things are just so easy. And I just feel like because those women know nothing about the Middle East and nothing about Israel, they assume that it's a dangerous country because that's what the media teaches you. And, especially with a country where all you hear about is war and terror and bodyguards everywhere, I think maybe that's why they fell for the whole enemy trick, because he did tell those women, like, oh, the reason why I need your money is because enemies are after me. But it's just sad, it's just sad because most of the times it's honestly so peaceful in Israel. Like, obviously not all the time, but a lot of people think that, for example, a lot of people think that Israelis and Arabs don't get along. Meanwhile, Israel is like full of Arabs who, like, first off, the hospitals are full of Arab doctors, full of Arab dentists. It's full of Arab lawyers and professors in universities. Most of the buildings built in Israel are built by Arabs. Like, it's really not all that bad. Like, most of the times it's very quiet. Just from time to time, yeah, there's terror and there's war, but that happens every few months, which is something that Israeli people simply get used to. But, it's really not as dangerous as the media perceives it to be. If anything, in my opinion, I think America is 10 times more dangerous with all of the serial killers and rapists and school shooters. Like, I think people in America have a higher and faster chance of dying from all these things than people in Israel. That's just my opinion. Next thing I want to add is professional manipulators don't overdo. Shimon, for example, in this case, leaves a bit of reality. He's a short guy. He's quite good looking, but not good looking enough to be considered like a model. And this helps his image because women don't get too intimidated by how he looks and who he is. It kind of makes it seem more real. Another thing that I like that he did, which is funny, that nobody seems to catch it, and I didn't see anybody talk about it or the girls at least mentioning it, is that on his social media, first off, if you're the son of a billionaire, it only makes sense for you to have a lot of followers on social media because, come on, you're the son of a person that's worth $1 billion. People are going to want to follow you, right? It's very unfortunate that I didn't screenshot his social media because if you did see his actual social media, which he deleted, he seems like, well, it doesn't seem like, I know for sure that he's been paying for followers, because how it works is that you pay for followers and it's also making you follow people. And when you look at the people he followed, it was like a bunch of bots, fake people like it just didn't make sense. Like people from like India, China, like where do you get those people from? Come on. If you're a billionaire, why would you follow these unimportant people? So that was another thing that he also did, is that he followed he had a bunch of followers, a bunch. So I guess that also kind of was part of his idea of creating this image of him being this important person. And it's very surprising because I didn't catch these women talking about the fact that they looked through his following when they went on his Instagram, because that could have also been a giver. The thing about Shimon is that he knew what women he can start the scams with fast and which ones he will need to take a longer approach. Naive girls believe in Prince Charming. And when I heard the girl, like I think it was the blonde girl she was talking about, and she was saying, oh, I was on Tinder for 7 years, I was matching with like thousands of guys, and then finally I thought that I met this nice guy. Girl, like if you've been on Tinder for that long, thousands of matches, and just this once finally you met a nice guy, that's not good. Like, I'm surprised you'd be on Tinder for that long. But she also mentioned that she believes in Disney movies and that love is like Disney movies. I knew right away, once I heard that coming out of her mouth, I was like, yeah, you are the perfect target for this kind of guy. You're just easy, because these guys right away will know that that's what you're looking for. They know exactly what to do and what to say. And that's the thing also, is that humans, they want things fast. When you have a fantasy and you think that somebody else can provide it, you want things to happen fast. And this is how love bombers win over you. People will love bomb you like crazy. They will start calling you every day, taking you out on dates almost every day, giving you gifts right away, like doing all this extra stuff. And you don't understand that they're love bombing you. You think, oh, look, it's the fantasy. It's the Disney movie I was looking for, honey. You are not in a Disney movie that needs to be an hour long. Like, this is like life. It doesn't work this way. So when women want these kind of things and they don't know how to play the long game, they're always going to be the women that get effed over. And the thing is that very first stage is love bombing you, because love bombing you, it makes you lower your guard down. It makes you open up more. You're going to start telling him the things that you're looking for, so he knows how to further manipulate you. The next one would be gaslighting you. And this is how they decide who to gaslight and who not to gaslight. Because I'm not gonna pretend. I'm definitely not an angel myself. I've also been testing guys out. Of course, not to this extent. Listen, I deal with people who scam. Like, I help people out who get scammed and hacked and all that stuff. But like, I'm telling you right now, a person like Shimon, a person who goes to that extent, to the point where they're making people take out loans and lose a lot of money, those people are completely heartless. Like, you are not even viewed as a human being. And to me, those people are the scariest people. There's one thing to be a gold digger and you know the guy has money and you just want gifts out of him. Okay. But if you're a gold digger to the point where like a guy is giving you everything, that he loses his property, his money, his like basics like food, shelter, water, that is when you're like a complete heartless human being. You know, like, that is like insane to me. There are people out there, there's definitely women out there who do this to men. I've talked about them before. And there are men who do this to women. And I just think that's like you have, listen, ladies, you need to have a line that like, like this is crossing the line. Gifts here and there is not bad. It's okay. You can manipulate and try to get gifts out of a guy. But when you know he's at a point where he's literally starving and doesn't even have the basics, come on, like, it's insane to me that people are heartless enough to still push it. But going back, so the gaslighting thing, I'll give you an example for me, because unfortunately I didn't watch the documentary, so I have no idea how and where he gaslighted them. But for me, and for example for me, is like this one guy that I went on a date with. I realized that I didn't even tell him the things that I like. And Valentine's Day is coming up soon, and of course I wanted to get some gifts. So how I gaslighted him was we were talking, And then I asked him a question. It was like a simple question. I can't remember what exactly I asked. I think I asked him like, oh, like you never listen to me. Like how I started is, oh, you never listen to me. I always listen to you. When's my birthday? That's what I told him. And I never told him my birthday. And he's like, oh, I don't remember. I'm like, how do you not remember? I remember your birthday. And he did tell me his birthday, so I told him the birthday. And then I asked him another question that he doesn't know and I never told him the answer to. And it was something simple like, oh, what are like my favorite flowers and how many flowers do I expect? Like how many flowers do I like? Something like that. And he also said he didn't know. And this is a way of gaslighting him. He starts feeling bad and he thinks, maybe I'm crazy. Like maybe I really don't listen to this girl. This was done on purpose because of course I wanted a gift and I wanted flowers, okay? But this is what's done. Like they will try to pretend like they said something and you didn't hear it or you misunderstood something. And then you think to yourself, maybe I'm going crazy. Now I'll tell you what, if this same guy that I've been manipulating to get a gift from said, no, you never told me that. Listen, I don't play with me. Like I know you never said that. Trust me, I would never in my life gaslight him again. Ever. The fact that he let me get away with it and actually believed it made me realize I can gaslight this guy and get away with it. Like, this guy actually believes what I say. But if he told me, like, don't play these games with me, I know you never told me this, you can let me know, but don't pretend like you told me. Like, I would never do this again. Meanwhile, I'll tell you a guy that I wouldn't gaslight is definitely... I would definitely say the very last boss that I had. Because I remember, first off, I would say because he was intimidating a bit. I remember that when we talked, and this is where he was planning to hire me, we have a lot of like, the company that we had was international, so we had people all over the world working with us. And he told me, listen, I know that you're Canadian, but I want you to know that I'm actually planning to fire all of the Canadians that work for our company. And I'm planning to get more people like from India, from China, because I pay them less and they do the job better. And the reason why he wanted to fire Canadians is because they're too sensitive. He says that when I tell them that they're doing something wrong, they send me a paragraph complaining and saying how much I hurt their feelings. Though this is true, and usually Canadians are like this, obviously not every one of them. When he told me, I don't know what it was, but something about him saying that he doesn't put up with sensitive people made me feel like this is not a guy I can play games with. Like, this is not a guy I can manipulate. I don't know why. I just feel like people who don't protect sensitive people or emotional people, for some reason, they're just people to watch out for. Because I feel like they're just the ones who can sense game right away. They can sense when people are doing things on purpose. But people, for some reason, people who do protect sensitive people who do protect emotional people, you'll realize that they're very easy to manipulate. There's just something about it. I can't really explain it, but yeah, the ones who protect emotional people who are very sensitive, those people are the easiest to manipulate. I don't know why. This man used hardcore game of pressure, guilt, paranoia. He gave the women everything, then switching his positions into a victim. And this works. When you give a woman everything, then you switch to a victim, women, they don't, like, everyone knows this, I'm sorry, but like, we think emotionally, we don't think logically. We think if I pay for that fantasy, maybe it will continue. Of course I will get my payment in return. He's rich, he already paid for me. When he's switching his position into a victim, it's like convincing you that you now need to protect him. He's professional and knew how to tell women everything they want to hear. Look at, for example, even in our community, like with all the sugar baby sex workers, vanillas that go on dates with guys that they consider high value. They brag about all the cute things these men do, all these cute things they tell them over the phone, over text. You know, they talk about, oh, he like grabbed me into the elevator and started kissing me. You know, they show off all the flowers and the, you know, Gucci they receive in lingerie, only to later on give out the disappointment that turns out he was a narcissist, or turns out he's married, or turns out he lied or cheated. Women are fast to fantasize any guy that provides a little bit of fantasy. And in our community, we see it all the time because women are showing off every single thing a guy does. Look, he's doing this. Look, he's doing that. And then after, oh no, he's a narcissist. I can't believe I was fooled. Honey, There's something called the long game, and unfortunately, anything that's healthy, anything that's worthwhile, anything that's worth long term will be the long game. Things don't happen fast like that, and then they. Because again, I say this all the time, anything that happens fast ends fast. Another thing that I noticed is that he wouldn't target women in their like. Any women who was like 18, 19, even early 20s. He would usually go for women who were like at their peak. So, like, I would say late 20s, women who already had careers, had a home, had a car. You know, this guy would look for women who I would say were more high maintenance. Like they were more women who had their nails done, had their hair done, you know, had like nice clothes, especially plastic surgery, because plastic surgery is expensive. These kind of things on women, you can tell, at least you will assume, okay, she has money. Because look at all this that she does. Of course, they're not going to look at a girl who isn't put together because they're going to be like, okay, well, she probably doesn't have the money to look good. You get what I mean? And another thing I want to add is that I realized that a lot of men who scammed women actually really search for women who have plastic surgery. And I remember talking to this one. I don't know how many men actually think this way. Like, I don't know how many male gold diggers think this way, but he told me that women with plastic surgery are the best target because they're much more insecure. Once they get something fixed, they'll find another thing to fix and another thing to fix and another thing to fix. And even after they fix it, usually they still have some kind of strong insecurity inside of them. So I don't know to what point this is accurate. I've never had plastic surgery, so I have no clue. But apparently that's how at least one of them thinks. I don't know how many of them think this way, but it's an interesting thing. Maybe I will do some studying on that. These type of men study what you lack in life and what you want in life, then they give it to you for short term so that you would believe you found your little Prince Charming. A smart woman knows what's too good to be true probably is. And anything that happens fast will also end fast. This guy was rushing everything from these women to the sex to the flights to the hotels to the expensive food and gifts. When a woman receives this, in her head she tells herself, well, of course he loves me. Look at all these things he does for me. Well, of course he has money. Look at all these things he buys for me. Shimon was also smart enough to understand that if he has a bodyguard, which I don't know how he got him, could be just a friend, could be just a guy he paid for, but he knew if he had one, it will make him look as if he's more important. Take a look at, for example, there's plenty of gold digger prank videos where the guy will stand by like a sports car, then he has this like fake bodyguard, and women will look at him and be like, oh, well, clearly he's really rich and actually important because look at that bodyguard. Usually women will not fall for this, and usually those videos are fake and are just made for, you know, ratings. But find the right woman and she will fall for it. This Shimon guy pretends to be a billionaire who works in a dangerous industry, but it doesn't make sense for you to only have one bodyguard. If you work in a dangerous industry, you would have several, because if it's that dangerous and your one and only guard ends up getting like shot, you will need others to protect you. It just does not make sense, and it's very unfortunate that those women did not use logic in this situation. What's funny is that Shimon actually approached a friend of mine. He was like standing outside of a sports car with his bodyguard and asked her for a phone number. They went out for coffee, and once he found out that she doesn't have money, he like never contacted her again. The thing about male gold diggers is that they love foreign women. For example, if you're an American girl and you're going down to India, the male gold diggers will love you. Not only do they view you as like as a green card, but on top of that, they view you as money, because American money is considered a lot in India. So they love foreign women. And you know, I just thought about this now. If he starts telling these women how worried he is about his own safety, why did he post so many pictures on his social media about all his wealth? Like, it does not make sense to me that not only do you claim you cannot use your own credit card, but like you're using women's money and you're posting pictures, like you're continuing to post pictures of you in cars and you in hotels. Like, that's where it's kind of hard for me to understand how these women just looked at it and were like, yeah, that's completely fine. I'm saving this guy. Like, I just feel like if you're in danger, you know, you wouldn't be posting on social media. And not just that, like if you're an Israeli billionaire, like, you know, even people who don't make that much money or in minimum wage, even the rich people, okay, people who are considered rich and they're not millionaires or billionaires, even those people don't like to be on Tinder. because it's so time consuming, it's a waste of time, you're digging through trash. So it doesn't make sense that an Israel billionaire would even be on there. Like, if you're a billionaire, you can literally just go outside, scream that you're horny, and a line of women will be lining up for you. You know, so it's crazy. And just in general, the way Shimon looks, like facial wise and everything, when I look at his pictures, I already have the sense of not to trust the guy. I don't know if it's just me, but like there's something about his look that just you can just tell like he's just not to be trusted. And even asking women for money that you barely know for a month or two, you're a billionaire. Your dad, you can literally contact your dad. If your dad really was Lev Lviv, he would literally be able to get a private jet and come get you right now. Like, no, none of it makes sense. It's almost hard to believe that the story is even real. So now the question is, where does he get the money? How does he buy all the expensive gifts, hotels, flights, and so on? It's easy. All it takes is finding that one perfect target. You know, for example, like those men you meet, and right away you know that that man will be so easy that you can just straight up ask him for money and you're not afraid to even ask him because you know he won't reject you. That man you know you can treat like absolute crap and you'll get away with it. That's the woman he targets. The first woman he targets needs to be manipulated enough to give him money. That money she gives, he spends it on the next girl. He lies to that girl saying he's a billionaire, uses another girl's money. And then now, he needs to convince the girl number 2 to give him money. Once girl number 2 gives him money, he goes to girl number 3. And then he goes to girl number 3 and tells her, I need money. And the cycle goes on and on and on. It first starts off with the one girl who's stupid enough to give him money. Then it goes on and on and on. And a lot of men use this trick. This isn't something new. Many women talk about it. Just maybe not enough women have experienced something this like tragic. But a lot of the times guys will lie to you and be like, yeah, I need grocery, money or whatever. And you give it to him, but really he's going out, taking another girl on a date. Like, this happens all the time. This is why you never, ever give a guy money. Another thing that I want to mention is that Shimon was on like the Israeli news or whatever, and there was like 2 interviewers that were talking to him and asking him a bunch of questions. I'll link it down below in case you want to watch it. I think it's translated to English as well. But towards the end, they told people that they can call the number and if they have any questions to like for Shimon to go ahead. Now, listen, the only 2 people that called were clearly paid by Shimon to back him up. Shimon knew that he'd be on the news, and he knew that this will help his image because it shows that he's not hiding. He further lies that he's some kind of investor that deals with Bitcoin and that's where he gets his money from. But I'm telling you now, any guy that tells you that he invests for a living, does Bitcoin, or even stock market, just remove him. Chances are high that this guy has no money or is lying to you, because even though it's possible to be an investor and do that for a living and be successful at it, the chances of you running into a man like that is so low. Personally, I would suggest not to take the risk. Same with the guys who claim to be entrepreneurs, like, just remove them. And on the news, like where he was talking, you can see that Shimon knows how to act and how to talk. Manipulators know if they're calm and don't show anger, people will believe them more. And this is like the exact same case. I don't remember what her name was, but remember like when this like girl, she was like some blonde girl, I think her name was like Paige, got murdered by her boyfriend. And before she was even murdered, the police actually came up to them and she was like being all emotional and crying and freaking out. Meanwhile, her boyfriend was completely calm. The police chose to believe the boyfriend because he was calm. That is something manipulators use all the time. People always tend to trust the person that's calm. Because if you act emotional, angry, or sad, you simply look crazy and less trustworthy. But yet you're gonna realize that when he wasn't on national TV and he knew that he didn't have eyes on him, when his girlfriends didn't give him money, or they started like accusing him of scamming, he completely lost it at them. He would send them like voice messages and voicemails or whatever, yelling at them, threatening them. Manipulators know how to behave in public and how to take the mask off behind closed doors. Now, I know that on my Instagram story I said do not blame the women. I somewhat changed my mind after hearing the stories of what happened to those women. Apparently one of the women, like after only meeting this guy like one time, flew out with him This is extremely dangerous. You barely know the guy and you have no similar connections to him. Just because a guy can afford to fly you out, wears a polo t-shirt or some Gucci flip-flops, doesn't mean that he's trustworthy. It takes 4 months to really know who a person is, and that's 4 months of seeing that person consistently. Like, how do you not think that this guy might traffic you or something? That's insane. This manipulation is called the quick decision trick. You know, for example, when you want to buy a ticket to a concert and all of a sudden there's a timer to fill out your personal details, or for example, you want to buy some clothes online and then there's a timer, and if you don't buy it by that time, like the clothes are not going to be discounted anymore. Reality is that even after the timer runs out, nothing happens. You can still buy the clothes for the same price. You can still buy the ticket even if you didn't like fill out your personal information. But this tactic works psychologically on people. Once they see a timer, they fill out their details a lot faster. And that's what those people want. They want to manipulate you into quickly giving up your information, not having you change your mind, not having you come back the next day. They want you to do it now. And this is something that all of you should have been taught. Never accept a job that requires a 24-hour answer. Shimon invited these women on the planes. He instills in them a small fear that a chance like this won't happen again unless they say yes right now. The unfortunate thing that I realized on those women is that, first off, like, they don't give me any like cheap girl vibes. They don't give me like those girls who were like wannabe models for Instagram. They honestly look like educated women. They have the school smart, but for some reason, unfortunately, they're missing the street smart, and that's not good. If you don't have street smart, you will always be effed over by men. Always. You are the easy target. I guess I should say also, I mean, it's very unfortunate that women like drop their logic once they're presented by a guy who looks like he has money and has wealth and has power, but almost every woman will do that. If you can somehow manipulate her into thinking that you can provide that, very difficult for a woman not to drop logic. It's the same thing with men. You know, for men it's just different. Like for them, I've seen men leave their wives and children for a Barbie doll, okay? For any girl that looks like a Barbie doll. A lot of men do things that they shouldn't do. They're easily whipped by women who simply have an amazing face or an amazing body. To the point where, yeah, they leave their children and their wife. So you see, both sides are just different. Both sides just have a different fantasy, but it works. And unfortunately, people do drop their logic. And it's very unfortunate. I think if you don't have self-control, if you don't know how to play the long game, if you are so obsessed and desperate to get that fantasy of yours, you're just an easy target at this point. But then again, humans want to see and focus on the good in this world. And of course, they want to believe and trust even if they have their guards up, even if they have trust issues. Sadly, a skilled manipulator can easily take advantage of any of you, even me included. Like, I mean, listen, I know manipulation, but I know for a fact there are people out there a million times smarter than me. What I know is not even near close to the amount a person can F me over. We can also talk about the beautiful side, and the beautiful side is that if you're a true gold digger, you wouldn't even be in this situation. Like, you would never fall for this man, especially after he asks you for money. This girl who dated Shimon, she literally said that, she even admitted that spending money on him basically gave her the hope that it will buy more time with him. Like, she really thought, okay, well, if I pay, he'll pay me back anyway because he took me here and there. And really, like, I've never in my life spent more than $10 on a man. No gold digger sends thousands of dollars to a man. It's never in history has ever happened, ever. I think what happened, I don't believe that this girl was originally a gold digger or anything. I don't think that those were her motives. I think that once she ran into him and once he provided this lie, oh, I'm a billionaire and everything, you know, like, every time we meet a man, we start fantasizing, all of us. We fantasize what it's going to be like with him. And of course, if you're going to start telling me you're successful and you're a billionaire, I'm going to be like, whoa, what's that like? Because you don't know what that's like if you're not a billionaire. You don't know what that's like. So you start fantasizing, and once you start fantasizing, it takes your head will take you into places you don't want to be in. So that's what I believe really happened. I don't believe that she even walked in there with the gold digger intentions. It's just that he provided this and it got her hooked. She was like, I want to know what this is like. And that's where the gold digger kind of happened. Only for her to get scammed in the end, which is very unfortunate. Women need to remember that we have many predators in our world. And there's plenty of them on Tinder, Bumble, OkCupid. Unfortunately, many people are also very desperate enough to become their victim. Right, and listen, like, this guy's a great liar. He apparently cut in line to get a vaccine by mispresenting himself as a first responder, meanwhile making everyone else wait like 4 hours and more. This guy is a very, very great liar. Like, he knows how to make himself look like he's some kind of high value man. I have no idea how he's so good at this. And like continues to do all these like frauds and scams and lies and not get caught when like so many other countries and people know about him from like years ago. Like, people know about him years ago before the Netflix thing was even a thing. Anyways, Shimon is still alive and free. I don't really think he'll be in jail, but who knows. The only reason why he'd even be in jail would be for the fraud he committed and maybe the use of fake passports. But for scamming those women, I doubt it. Sadly, it's not considered as if he stole their credit card. He never really stole their money. Sadly, those women actually gave it to him. And on top of that, those women were in a relationship with him. So it's not enough of a reason to put him in jail. On top of that, having that Netflix documentary about him, in my opinion, I think it just gives him more opportunities. Like, women are laughing saying, oh, now he's not going to get any other woman. But like, he's dating a model. I don't know if they're still dating, but there's always going to be stupid women who are just dumb enough to settle for this kind of man. And on top of that, I personally think he's smart enough. I don't know, but if he is, he can easily start his own business from all the followers he's getting out of this. But really, I feel more worried for the women that created this documentary, because Shimon he's crazy. You know, like, he's really dangerous. And if you play with someone that's dangerous, then it might come back at you. I wouldn't be surprised if those women go missing or something really bad happens to them. If Shimon is smart, he's not going to do it because fingers will be pointed at him right away, right? But it will surprise you the extent that a person will go if they're mad at you. Like, I personally always say, like, never play with fire. If you sense that someone is dangerous, just back off and leave, because this guy is very dangerous. He went to the extent of making these women go on debts, on loans, and just, it's insane. It's insane. And I just think if a person is that crazy that they're willing to take everything that you have away from you, then that is a person that you want to back off from, because they do not see a human being. Like, those people are dangerous. And sadly, I really do think that many men will see this documentary and try to learn from it and apply the tactics. Like, I think now dating sites will be packed with male gold diggers who will try to copy all these tactics that Shimon created. Even the women that watched this documentary or watched my video right now will somehow end up either on a date with this loser or scammed by a loser like this. Like, humans are sadly not as smart even when they know better. All a manipulator has to do is learn the person, provide the fantasy they want, and that's it. They own them. There's 2 things that I want to add for you to watch out for, is to remember that if he's too charming and does everything perfectly, he has game and is a manipulator. I've said this many times and I'm saying it again. Another is if all you've been doing is be nice to the man, and all of a sudden he starts getting mad or angry or even pushy, he wasn't himself from the start. He's showing you now who he really is. So somebody asked me if I would consider his family to be like powerful, or if they're in general important. I wouldn't consider his family powerful or even say that they're important people, because I'll tell you what, they have good contacts. Since his father is the rabbi of an Israeli flight, he has good contacts. And these people are protected by the connection to religion. And Israel works hard to protect its own citizens. For example, there was this girl who got caught at the airport for bringing drugs, and they put her in jail in Russia for like years. And Israel worked really hard to like get her out of there. Same thing if a terrorist kidnaps an Israeli soldier or any Jew or Israeli, Israel will like release lots of terrorists from their jail just to have that one person back. you know. And I even heard like this one story like years ago. Apparently some rabbi was a pedophile, I don't know where from, America I think, and he ran back to Israel and they were protecting him here. Though pedophilia is of course against the religion, you can see if you're Israeli, Jewish, I think mainly Jewish, Israel will protect you. Now to end this video, I mean, the issue with Tinder is that it's full of predators. Like, you have no idea who you're going to meet, and sadly even 3 to 4 days is not enough to know who the person is. You will need months to figure out who you're dealing with. Many women even end up married or in relationships with predators and they don't even know it. Predators can also meet you and target you in real life, but that's so rare. Like, from what I heard, women who deal with predators and men who like ruin their lives, most of them, I would say like 95% of them, were from online dating. So it is kind of an issue to do online dating. It's very hard. In my opinion, the safest option is to find somebody through mutual connections. You know, you can even, if you really don't want to do online dating anymore, maybe this is like too much for you, you can also follow, like, check who your friends are following. And if you see some guy that you like, you can also do that. I mean, if you're already on Tinder, then doing this is going to be nothing for you, you know? Or you can go out and meet somebody in person. But yeah, it's very rare that people actually in real life meet a person who happens to be a predator. It's not as common. Usually predators, especially nowadays, are online. It's the easiest way for them. And yeah, I mean, that's the best advice I can give. Unfortunately, you can't really get rid of them. All you can do is really understand the tactics and make sure that you don't allow your fantasies to take over you. Anyways, I'm sorry that this video ended up being so long. I actually thought it was going to be a lot shorter, but I had to put all the information I know on here. So thank you all for listening. And if there's anything else that you want me to talk about, add on, fix, definitely let me know. And yeah, love you all.